Franklin County in northwest Alabama. This will be perhaps heading into southeastern portions of Colbert County as well. Again, this is the debris tracker. This has been the most telltale sign with this storm. When we saw that popping up, we knew we had a problem here. The wind velocity that we're looking at right now, not quite as indicative of strong circulation, but again, the debris tracker indicating that something is still on the ground here. So that is really the main sign that we have a damaging situation developing here across Franklin County. Again, this is very close to Alabama 187, about where it crosses Alabama 24 in Franklin County, in between Ewan Crossroads and Russellville. So again, anywhere along Alabama 24 headed towards Russellville, even down to Isbell, I do want you in your tornado shelter. Again, it appears we have a tornado that has a touchdown and perhaps is still on the ground here across Franklin County in the northwestern corner of the state. Do want to show you the bigger picture, and again, we are not necessarily expecting a widespread severe weather threat. But the northern part of this line of storms that extends from east of Red Bay down to the west of Haleyville is packing a bit of a punch as it moves into this corner of the state. And again, there has been some rotation associated with this thunderstorm and the likelihood that it has put a tornado on the ground maybe a couple of times earlier back in Marion County along the Alabama-Mississippi border. And again, now a likely tornado that is perhaps still on the ground here in Franklin County across northwestern Alabama. Again, this is tracking its way towards Russellville and Littleville, so I need you to be in your shelter in these areas. Again, this is what it looks like with the rainfall depiction. Again, this is not something that was necessarily expected. We can certainly get strong thunderstorms in this sort of pattern. Unlikely that we would get any sort of widespread tornado activity, but again, this storm has produced what appears to be some damage and a tornado that has at least touched down. I don't believe what we're seeing now with the debris tracker is all a tornado. That would be quite large. So this is perhaps the debris field maybe spreading out a little bit, and my hope is that the tornado is going to lift. But we are still seeing, again, rotation showing up here close to Old Nauvoo, a little west of Russellville, a little west of Isbell. And again, the debris tracker has indicated that something has likely touched down here. I'll take this back in time. You can see when the warning was issued, and it was based on that. It was based on that debris tracker showing some damage being done based on the radar signature, and you can see how that has moved along here. It is spread out at this point in time, so maybe less likely that we have a tornado still on the ground at this point, although this storm is still producing some rotation near Ewan Crossroads and Old Nauvoo, and also a little bit of rotation east of there. But hopefully the storm becoming a little less organized. But I still want you in your shelter in these areas across Franklin County as well as into Colbert County here in northwestern parts of the state of Alabama. Again, the latest here on the debris tracker, still some indications of that. Perhaps even more of a strong wind threat coming through here now based on the fact that the debris tracker signature has really started to spread out just a little bit with this particular thunderstorm moving on through. Again, let me time this out for you. Again, this is the likelihood of a damaging thunderstorm coming through, and perhaps a tornado, and perhaps also some damaging wind that we are now seeing with this storm. We're going to track this whole area, again, from Russellville to Littleville. I need you in your shelter in these areas. If you were in Russellville, this will be coming in by 7:30. Into the Crooked Oak area around 7:32, into Littleville around 7:37. Again, tornado warning until 7:45 this evening for the likelihood that this storm has put a tornado on the ground here across parts of Franklin County. Again, a little uncertain just based on the way the debris tracker looks now if there is still something on the ground, but perhaps at this point there's some strong damaging wind that is coming through as well. I'll switch it over here. We'll take a look at the wind velocity. And We're going to take a look at a few different pieces of information here. And again, maybe a little bit more circulation showing up around Gewin Crossroads. That's a little different of a path from where this was earlier. You can see what we were tracking in the wind velocity. This was about 10 minutes or so ago. That was the circulation. That was also where we saw the debris being lofted via radar. I'll move this up in time, and that area rotation has weakened a bit, but perhaps another area rotation now developing back to the west of that. So we got two areas that I'm watching right now. Again, this is the original circulation, which is right there now where Highway 187 and Highway 24 intersect. But another area of circulation showing up here towards Gewin Crossroads as well. So watching that also. Again, our debris tracker signature has spread out. It is not as concentrated in a given area. So that could be a good sign that whatever did touch down has lifted. However, there is still some circulation showing up in this thunderstorm, and maybe a couple areas of that we're going to have to keep an eye on. So I do want you in your shelter anywhere from Crooked Oak to Russellville to Littleville for, again, the possibility that we have, at the very least, perhaps some damaging wind coming in through this area. And maybe still a tornado threat, although I'm thinking just based on the data that I'm looking at, that threat is perhaps a little less likely than it had been with this particular thunderstorm. But again, the debris tracker has been the telltale sign of something doing damage here across Franklin County and moving into Colbert County. So anywhere from near Isbell to Russellville to Crooked Oak to Littleville, I do want you in your shelter for, again, the possibility of a tornado and at the very least the possibility for some damaging wind coming on in. I do want to show you what we were tracking right before we came on the air on the debris tracker. And starting close to Hodges was where we began to see some debris being indicated by radar. I'll go ahead and circle that. Again, that was just after 7 o'clock, after the top of the hour. That increased as the storm approached Old Nauvoo, indicating a likelihood of a tornado that had touched down and had done some damage. And then as it passed Old Nauvoo, the debris signature kind of spread out a little bit. So the fact that it's not concentrated over a small area like it was is an indication that perhaps what had touched down tornado-wise has potentially lifted. Maybe still some debris falling from the sky that the radar is picking up, but perhaps not something that is still on the ground doing damage. But with that said, Crooked Oak to Littleville to Russellville, want you in your shelter. If you are in Isbell, the most dangerous part of this thunderstorm has likely passed. Still seeing a couple areas of circulation showing up here, none that are incredibly well defined. I'll circle what was the original area rotation that likely did produce a tornado. This has weakened substantially, but again, I'm watching now north of Gewin Crossroads, another area of circulation that is showing up in this area on WAAY 31 triple Doppler of possible rotation. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that very closely in the event that maybe something would quickly spin up over in that direction, away from where the initial spin up likely happened in a tornado touchdown. Again, here's the latest on the debris tracker. Again, this is less concerning of something that is still on the ground, but still bears watching. This is the zoomed out view of the storm. The other thing that we're keeping an eye on, the way the storm has bowed out here, and I'll kind of draw in what I mean. It looks like the bow of a bow and arrow. It has that shape. That's an indication of strong wind in addition to perhaps a tornado threat. We're also seeing that heading into parts of Lawrence County as well, near Haleyville, another part of this line, bowed out like a bow and arrow. And that will be tracking into southwestern parts of Lawrence County, perhaps eventually moving through Moulton. Again, the atmosphere wasn't necessarily set up for a significant severe weather threat. In fact, we were not even in the severe weather outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. That was well off to our south and west. But sometimes, particularly on the small scale environment, storms can interact and do some odd things. And that's what we have going on right now. Again, the way the storm is looking near Russellville, perhaps more of a strong damaging wind threat. Tornado warning, though, does remain in effect. I'm going to take a look at some of the latest data as far as that goes in just a second. We're going to track out, though, the wind that will continue to press off to the north and east with this thunderstorm. We could be talking wind gust, maybe 60 to 70 miles per hour. That's a possibility as well. That could do some damage, bring down some trees and power lines. So a wider storm track here showing that potential. Again, bearing down on Russellville as we speak. Littleville by 7:37. Some other areas a little farther out in time. Tuscumbia around 7:46. Into Muscle Shoals around 7:48, 7:55 in Florence. Could bring a risk of some damaging wind if this storm continues to maintain its intensity as it moves in that direction. Severe thunderstorm warning has been issued as a result of that and that potential for winds that could approach 60 miles per hour or a little bit higher with this thunderstorm. And it looks like we have a new severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued for Lawrence County as well, as I was just talking about the possibility for some strong wind moving into that area of northwest Alabama as well. So let's pull up all the warnings here for you, and we'll show you what we have going on with the warnings right now. So we have our tornado warning that does continue for another 15 minutes or so. That does include Russellville and Littleville. That is the red box. The yellow boxes that you see that are drawn to include much of Colbert as well as Lauderdale County, and another one that includes much of Lawrence County and portions of Morgan County. Those yellow boxes are severe thunderstorm warnings that are in effect for this area, with the possibility for some damaging wind coming in as well. These are the specific warnings, and I'll give you the details on them. Again, our tornado warning, that one goes until 7:45 for parts of Colbert as well as Franklin County. Our other severe thunderstorm warnings, that includes Colbert, Lauderdale, Lawrence County, one goes until 8:15. And we've got the other one here that includes the remainder of Lawrence County, including Moulton. That one goes until 8 o'clock. So again, two hazards that we're looking at here. Damaging wind, and again, perhaps still a lingering tornado threat. Let me get you the latest view here of the storms, and you can see them pressing into the northwest corner of the state. Hopefully losing the punch a little bit. I will say the radar depiction is not quite as intense. In fact, I'll take this back a few frames. You can see how strong the storms were coming through Hackleburg. Lots of bright orange and red, even around Haleyville. And now as the storms are moving into Russellville, kind of losing that intensity, at least the brighter colors. That's often an indication that the storm is weakening. Latest on the wind velocity here. Still a couple areas of rotation to watch. Near Crooked Oak, again, that was the original area of circulation that prompted the tornado warning. But again, this is not particularly strong. And there's still another area back to the west that actually is a little bit stronger that will be passing in between Rock Creek and Crooked Oak there in southern parts of Colbert County. Latest here on the debris tracker, again, less concerning than it was. We do have a report now of some wind damage west-southwest of Russellville near Belgreen. Some trees down on Highway 187 in the Belgreen area. So this storm has produced at least some damage there due to perhaps thunderstorm winds moving through, or that could have also been in the vicinity of where it appears we had a tornado touchdown. I'm going to walk over here to the wall and point out some things to you. So this is our tornado warning that we have still ongoing right now. But again, the storm appears to have weakened. So hopefully we're not going to get any more tornado threat out of this. One of the things that will be happening as well is the storm is moving to the northeast. We've already had some rain here in the shoals. So that's kind of cut down on the instability in the atmosphere. So this storm is moving into an area that is already rain cooled. So hopefully that will lead to a continued weakening trend. Again, the storm, as it's coming through Russellville right now, it's still strong and still likely producing some wind gusts, 40, 50, maybe 60 miles per hour, potentially. But the storm has kind of lost some intensity as it has been moving into this northern part of Franklin County. And that's a good sign. That's always something that you want to see, a weakening storm. Still quite a bit of lightning back here, northeast of Red Bay, west of Russellville. Again, we're going to have to watch this area on basically the edge of where the tornado warning is. There is still some rotation showing up in that area. But the fact that the tornado warned part of this storm, as it's been moving towards Russellville, has appeared to be losing its organization, certainly a good sign. I'm going to back off the picture here and just take another look at the rotation that's going on in the thunderstorms. And that area northwest of Russellville, still watching. Again, what I'm closest watching is what is near Rock Creek. And again, this is rotation showing up. Let me kind of break it down for you. The green color is where we have the wind blowing towards the radar. Reds are blowing away, so you get this sense of counterclockwise rotation. Again, this is right on the edge of that tornado warning, so I'm really watching this. This other area of less strong circulation there, you saw the latest update near Lime Rock. That was the original circulation. That is what prompted the tornado warning. That has weakened. Watching this area, though, very closely near Rock Creek. So again, in these areas of Colbert County, still want you in your shelter anywhere from, we'll say, east of Rock Creek, that's Highway 247, and over towards Lime Rock. This part of Colbert County, do want you in your shelter for, again, the possibility that we might get another tornado that could spin up in this area. And then outside of that, we've got the potential for strong thunderstorm wind gusts that will be coming through and are coming through Russellville and up towards the Littleville area. Again, that's also covered by a severe thunderstorm warning that does include areas of the shoals as well. But right now, as far as rotation goes, what we're seeing that here on radar is showing up very close to Rock Creek. We'll be passing between Rock Creek and Lime Rock. Again, this storm is not as well organized as it had been. Taking another look at the debris tracker, I'm not seeing anything of the same concern. Again, let me back this up and we'll show you what was a concern. Right here, near Atwood and Hodges, that was very likely a tornado that touched down. This developed very, very quickly. A quick increase in rotation, and then the debris tracker indicated this. So this was a quick spin up, stayed on the ground for a little bit. Again, this is where it started on the ground, close to Atwood and Hodges. Again, this was a little after 7:11 this evening. And then that steadily worked its way off to the north and to the east. And with time, that small area of debris being detected by radar gradually spread out and kind of dissipated. So I don't believe that we have still a tornado on the ground at this point. There's still rotation, though, that is showing up in this storm. It is not what I would call concentrated over a small area. It's fairly broad, but it is there nonetheless, west of Littleville. And this is going to be moving over places like Tuscumbia, Sheffield, Muscle Shoals, Florence. No tornado warning for you folks, but there is a severe thunderstorm warning as a result of this storm. And you can see the areas included in that. Let me walk back over here and point this out, and kind of what I'm monitoring for a damaging wind threat, as that remains a possibility as well. The way the storm kind of bows out here, just follow where the transition from the green to the yellow on the radar. Again, that is your heavier thunderstorm activity moving through, and when it bows out like that, that's often caused by strong wind kind of pushing the rain out along the leading edge of the storm. There you see the latest update coming on in. So again, that remains a possibility as well. I think we're less likely that we've got a tornado that is happening with this particular thunderstorm now at this point in time, but fairly confident that we did have a tornado that touched down for at least a little bit southwest of Russellville, again back near Atwood and just outside of Hodges there in Franklin County. Well, the tornado warning does continue for a few more minutes, but again, at least for the moment, I think that threat has subsided. Still, though, watching this area of circulation showing up, particularly in between Rock Creek and Crooked Oak. There is another area of rotation northwest of Lime Rock. And again, this was the original rotation that likely produced a tornado, but that has weakened. When we see this on radar, kind of what we monitor is how is the wind velocity changing over time. So right now, this wind velocity and circulation is kind of spread out. It's not particularly strong and concentrated in one area, but that's what we'll be monitoring as the newest data sweeps come on in, is in particular this area between Rock Creek and Crooked Oak. If this starts to tighten, if it starts to get more concentrated over a smaller area than it is now, then that would be an indication that the storm is starting to spin a little bit faster and perhaps could produce a tornado. So monitoring that closely. Again, I don't think that we have a tornado still on the ground at this point in time. We're not seeing a strong velocity signature. We're not seeing that into the debris tracker at this point in time. But again, there is the potential that this storm, as it moves into the shoals, may bring some strong wind gusts. Certainly could be on the order of 50, maybe 60 miles per hour as it does. However, the storm also does appear to be losing its organization, weakening a bit. The tornado warning is being allowed to expire because the rotation has weakened. Again, we're not seeing any indication of anything on the ground, tornado-wise. Let me reset the view here and show you the big picture. So the tornado warning is going to be allowed to go away at 7:45, which was when it was set to expire, as the threat has appeared to have ended. We do, though, continue with severe thunderstorm warnings with this round of storms coming on through, although even with that, I'll say the storms are not looking quite as strong on radar as they did. But primarily, we're watching the leading edge here, which is now coming out of Russellville through the Littleville area. This is going to be working its way towards the Shoals, Florence, Muscle Shoals, Tuscumbia, Sheffield. So just be prepared perhaps for some strong wind, although again, as the storm kind of moves into this area of rain preceding it, that may cause continued weakening and interference with the storm dynamics that are going on, which hopefully will limit the severe weather potential. Got the same thing happening here in southwest parts of Lawrence County, southwest of Moulton. Again, the possibility over the Bankhead National Forest heading towards Moulton that this storm may produce some strong wind gusts, could be on the order of 50 to 60 miles per hour. What we're not seeing, though, any strong areas of rotation at this point in time with this little line of storms coming on in. So it appears as everything will continue to advance north and east, maybe just more of a heavy rain threat, little thunder and lightning, and perhaps some gusty wind as well. With that said, we're going to go ahead and go back to regular programming, but just know that I'm not going anywhere. And I actually was closely monitoring the storms there coming out of Marion County when they started to show signs of getting better organized. So we're going to be here watching. Severe thunderstorm warnings are in effect for you folks from the Shoals to Moulton. Again, it appears here short term, the main threat is going to be some wind gusts, 40, 50, maybe up to 60 miles per hour. That could be enough to bring down some trees and some power lines. Again, our tornado warning is being allowed to expire here at 7:45 as the rotation has kind of lost its organization and we're no longer seeing indications of a tornado on the ground like we were when that tornado warning was issued. So we are going to go back to regular programming, but we are going to be watching the storms and we will break back in if it looks like there is a significant threat to life or property as these continue to move on in to the northwestern corner of the state. Of course, we'll have a full update in your forecast coming up on WAAY 31 News at 10 o'clock tonight. You can track the storms as well with WAAY 31 Triple Doppler with the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker weather app. Again, back to regular programming, but we'll be closely watching these storms as they continue to move into portions of North Alabama.